What is going on, you guys? My name is Daniel and welcome back to the channel where everything mirrorless Canon cameras. In this video, we're going to be comparing the 50mm 1.8 and the 1.2 of the RF variety. And we're going to be going over some of the biggest image quality differences that you're going to be seeing when you have these two lenses. And obviously this is not a fair comparison, but it just kind of shows you what you're getting from both of these lenses in the different ranges, price ranges. The 1.8 coming in at 200 USD and the 1.2 coming around 2200 USD. So very big price difference, very big quality difference. And we're going to look into some of the exact things that I've noticed over the past 2 weeks while using these two lenses together. And we're going to go over the sharpness first. And I want you to remember this sharpness right here. I put this through Photoshop for edge detect so that you can see exactly where in the images it's sharpest. This is an image of a carpet, since that's probably the most textured thing that I have in the house to make this worthwhile. And so this is a picture with the 1.8. And you can see this white section right in here is showing us that this is the sharpest section inside this entire lens. And so only about 33% of the very most inner side of this lens is actually as sharp as it should be. And it starts falling off very, very, very quickly as you go towards the edges. And then anywhere it's blown out, of course, that's totally out of sharpness. But as you can see, it's only the center part. Now I'm going to show you the 1.2, and here it is. This is the 1.2 at F1.8. And as you can see, this white section goes all the way across the entirety of this lens, with it only falling off a little bit on the edges, ever so slightly. So I want you to remember this when you're looking at these photos, and photos that I've recomposed or taken where the subject wasn't completely in the center of the image. For example, right here, where the center of the image, this is taken with the 1.8, is about right here, around Julia's waist, but her face is in that zone where it's starting to lose that sharpness. Now, this might not be a big deal if you are just taking photos for your own purposes. They're more casual. But this is a big deal if it's a client gig and somebody's face is out of focus ever so slightly, and for some reason they want to zoom in significantly and it just stops looking as sharp and as good as it needs to be. Obviously, the price difference warrants the difference in quality here and the abundance of quality in the 1.2. So I've been able to get this gear from Canon Finland and test out both of these lenses for the past 2 weeks. So big shout out to Canon Finland. Let's go to this first set of images that I want to show you. Actually, let's do the brick wall first. And I'll show you one of the biggest differences that I've noticed other than the sharpness between the 50mm 1.2 and the 50mm 1.8. And this is how the bokeh transition is from the out of focus area to the in focus area to the out of focus area. And the amount of bokeh varies from image to image and situation to situation, but this never changes at all. And with the 1.2, you can see it very clearly on this red brick wall. So as it comes super out of focus and gets closer into the focus, it is a very gradual transition and then a gradual transition out of it. Whereas in one of these images, which is the 1.8, 1.8 right there, you can see that while it is not nearly as creamy and as smooth and as elegant a bokeh, it is a much harsher transition in and then out. And the blown out background is what you would expect from about one stop more bokeh. The 1.2 really allowing almost an entire extra stop of light in If you ever look at the fins on the actual aperture for the 1.2 at 1.8 versus 1.2, it feels quite a bit larger. So this is the first thing that I would really take into consideration after the sharpness. So let's explore some of the foreground bokeh that you're going to be getting. This is the 1.8, and as you can see, it has some very good creamy bokeh. And one of the things that the 50mm 1.8 also has is the ability to shoot very close to its subject. This doesn't come into play here with this, but it is something to be noted. So as you can see, this is about what you're going to get from foreground blur. And this is another 1.8, but edited. And then here is the foreground blur from the exact same location, exact same positioning with the 1.2. And as you would expect, it is much more blown out. There is much less visibility of the branches going on here. And we'll go back here. And then the 1.2. 1.8. 1.2. Now, don't get me wrong, I really did enjoy shooting with the 1.8 as it is a very light, easy to carry around lens. It's very casual. And here we have the difference. This is just a tree or an arm's length away, this tree here. As you can see, it's already starting to get blown out with this 1.2. However, with the 50mm, let me correct that so they're both looking about the same. Okay, it doesn't want to change these settings. We'll just increase the exposure. And so as you can see, the tree right here is almost, it looks like it could almost be in focus. It's ever so slightly out, but here you can tell with the 1.2 that it is very much so starting to enter that out of focus range. More shots that are very close from the 1.8, and this is at a, it helps you with the low light situations having that 1.8, and then like I said, the 1.2 adds an entire extra thing of bokeh to it, or an extra stop of light to it. And here's an example, like I was saying earlier, how the lens has that very close the ability to shoot very close to its subject and add a lot more bokeh feel to it, just due to the fact that you're closer to the object, and that blows out the background even more. So it's just totally blown out like what you expect from a much higher end lens. Granted, this thing is also not very big. Here's a photo of it. That's what you're getting, and it blew out the backside very well. Here's probably my favorite Christmas photo. This was shot with the 1.8 from this year, or at least of decor, and it turned out pretty good. As you can see, it's still within that range where it's sharp. This is in the center. It does have some, noise in the low light, but that's more of the camera. But it is very capable of taking nice photos. Once again, more casual around the house. And the last thing let's just do a stop here. It is very good wide, and I think this one's shot at f1.8. Yep. And the big thing about these lenses, I'm talking about them shooting at their most open. So the f1.8 is where the 50mm is going to be the least sharp. But when you stop it down to about f4, f5, which is about where you'd be recording for any video work, that is when you're going to start seeing the 50mm 1.8 start to get very sharp. The next thing for the 50mm is the type of stars you can get out of it. So here's just a photo of some of the stars that you can get out of it with, I believe, 8 fins it has in there, and that's just what it looks like right there. It did very well when taking it places and trying to get it to vignette. Then it has almost zero vignetting. that you can see around anything that I've taken. Obviously, you can push the 50mm to vignette at some point, but you can also push the 50mm 1.2 to do that as well. So if you are looking for a lens to take to a wedding, it is not going to be the 1.8, but the 1.8 is significantly more casual. I would not take the 50mm 1.2 out to do street photography or just on a casual hike. So those are some of the biggest things that you're going to notice between the image quality between the 50mm 1.8 and the 50mm 1.2. If you are looking to pick up either one of these lenses, don't forget to check out the links down below. It really helps out the channel. So my name is Daniel. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to never miss out on more content to help you shoot with your mirrorless Canon cameras better. Thank you so much for watching, and take care.